Okay, y'all, so what we got going is I've given you a Sharpie marker. I've given you a cloud reference, and this is the exact same picture in color versus black and white. Okay, so how is the black and white really helpful to us is that we can see all those values in black and white really well. Sorry, the cord's in the way. Can you see it now? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Alright, so we've got the color references, which I'm going to put on my left side. I've got my picture, and this picture is exactly the same size as the square. Okay? So have no fear. For the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to put our worksheet off to the side, and we're just going to work with the paper. Okay? Now, for me, I think I'm going to go ahead and opt to do the black and white, because color just adds another level of like intensity, another level of complexity. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put my picture, my clear paper. Can you guys see that that's clear paper there? My transparency is going to go right on top. And today, all we have time for is to very carefully just do all of the lines. The first line that I'm going to start with is the outline of the rectangle. That's going to help us when we trace this onto our final paper. It's going to help us really see how to line it up. And this is Sharpie, it's permanent, okay? If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Just carry on. Remember, this is just a study. This is a loose painting that's going to help us understand the steps of painting. So if everybody can look right here for one moment, I've got my border, my edge. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start where it's really obvious, and I'm going to get as many details as I don't want to. Now what I don't want to do, y'all, is I don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing a cloud and make it like childhood clouds. Okay? What I do want to do is I want to keep it lined up real good. And I want to follow it and be ready to move with the edges. Okay, go ahead and start getting in the shape of your cloud. Now, another thing that's really important while we do this, we're trying to find areas of contrast, right? That's where these lines or edges are, is on the outsides of shapes. Okay, and you can see shapes based on contrast. I want to encourage you to get as much of the detail. Do not smooth it out. Keep it nice and rough and irregular. Nature is not smooth and perfect. In fact, that is one of the ways that people end up not having realistic art, is because they smooth things out and simplify it, and it really just comes from a place of laziness, I would say. Now, while we're doing this, what I was trying to say is our hands are kind of following the contour of this cloud. And so we're already starting to learn and train our muscle memory how clouds work and move, the shapes that are inside of them, which is going to come into play later on. Now remember, he mentioned that there were like little frays of the edge of the clouds that kind of come out. That's what makes it feel fluffy. Okay, so don't ignore those things or smooth those things out. Don't you guys wish you could like zoom in, like with your eyes, like you can on an iPad? And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just starting with the biggest shapes. That's it. I'm not getting all the little micro details at this point. I'm just starting with the basic shapes. Now what you will notice is that, you guys, I don't know if you can see this on my hand. I've got Sharpie on my hand. If you're right-handed, you want to start from left and move to right, okay? Because you're going to smear your paper. It does take, this transparency does take a little bit of time. Everybody look up here for a second. So when I'm going back, I don't want to smudge what I've already done, so I'm going to use my pinky finger to stabilize my hand up high, and that's going to help me draw the second layer of clouds. So do not, wipe your fingers right through all the work that you've done. And in some areas, especially on the black and white one, where the cloud is reaching this sky right here, some of the values are very similar, but what's interesting is hard to see. But when you go to the color one, you can see it very clearly because that pink is very different than that blue. Even though when you photocopy it, they look the same color. So, I mean, honestly, look here, you guys. I could, if I was having a hard time seeing, I could line this up over here and bring it up to the color one if I wanted to. Okay? So I would say though, the majority of the time, the black and white one is going to be the easiest one to trace. And that frame is allowing me to reline it up very easily. Now, if you guys are awful drawers, you can improve that skill. But one of the really cool things about being a painter and an artist is that as long as you take the photo, you could trace things and nobody cares. Okay, so if you take a photo of a person or if you take a photo of a landscape, you're allowed to trace those things and then paint on top of it. So a lot of painters, they don't even draw. They just paint. In fact, back in the old days, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those light boxes that they used to have or have been taught about those. They would have a mirror machine where they would just trace what they're looking at to draw faster and more accurately. Now we're just doing those big, big shapes first. That we're not thinking about values yet. We're just getting the outline of everything. I'll kind of teach you how to do the 2 value versus the 3 value, the 4 value. So we're just looking for all the line details. Isn't it amazing how the clouds look like waves in the background right here? These little clouds, so beautiful. Now the cool thing about, even if you become a magical painter one day and you are tracing things, what's really going to be interesting is that all of us are tracing the same image right now, but I guarantee you all of our paintings are going to look different. Every single one of them. We all have our own way of looking at art, of seeing it. You guys can look up at what I'm doing. I'm starting to get all the inside lines now. Anywhere I see contrast or an edge, I'm just turning it into just fine line. That's it. Are you guys noticing how imperfect all the line work is? It's very random. That's another huge deal with realistic art. It's not perfect. Okay, I feel like I've got all my lines going. How many of you guys finished your lines? Perfect. We got out of here at 15 after, is that right? I'm going to put 2 of these on each long table, one for each small table. reach for that one. Okay. Okay, I have just passed out some transfer paper and washi tape for all of you. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take the drawing on the transparency, careful not to smudge it, and we're going to take it over to our frame. It should match up fairly perfectly. Okay. Now, let's zoom mine out so you guys can see this. Let's see. Okay, so my transparency here, can I get everybody's eyes up here for a second? Where you drew on your transparency is going to be a little bit different, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to line up your transparency, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 small pieces of washi tape each. So I'm taking one big piece off, I'm going to rip it into 2, okay? I'm going to tack this down really nice and secure, and then I'm going to, on the same side, I'm going like a hinge, like of a door, I'm going to put 2 pieces of washi tape. Now, some of you guys are familiar with washi tape, or sorry, with transfer paper. What this is carbon paper. On one side, it is lighter than the other. Okay, so if you flip it over, see how this side is lighter and this side is darker? This side, the lighter side is also flat, and the glossy side is darker. What we want to do is we want to open up our transparency. Can I get everybody's eyes right here because you're going to get confused? We're going to put the black side down. So I'm going to flip this over so the light side is up. I'm going to put it underneath there. Okay? Now I've got my image on there. Now what we're going to do once we've got our image, let me turn this off so you guys can see that's a little bit better.
You want a trick?
I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to try a pencil first. The Sharpie pens should probably work. Let's just try the Sharpie pen. It's hard to see the Sharpie pen is all. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to trace the border, but I'm going to start left to right. Okay? So I'm going to start at the top line and I'm going to trace it. And I'm pressing a little bit hard. I don't want to break the felt tip pen. But I am pressing hard so that it makes the transparency is a little bit thick and plastic, right? So it does take a little bit more. Now let's go ahead and see if I move this up, how that looks. And there we go. I've got my mark there, nice and light. Everybody following? So we're just going to trace our whole design from left to right, top to bottom. I'm just going to follow one at a time and draw all my lines in here. Thankfully, it is looking twice as thick, so I can kind of tell what I have and haven't done yet. I'm using my finger. Everybody look at my pinky finger right here. Everybody look right here. Because I don't want to push down hard on the paper. I'm just using my pinky finger to balance. This is going to help you get more controlled lines. Okay, so I did one line, now I'm going to go back and start on the next line over. Careful not to drag your hand through your Sharpie marker, it does kind of want to squish away. Use your pinky finger to stabilize your hand movement if you have shaky hands. Remember, you want a firm grip on this. If you're not pushing hard enough, it's not going to go through the plastic to make a mark. So also be careful that you're not moving, you're not putting so much pressure on the transparency that it's moving so that your drawing isn't lined up. You want to keep that. If you need to put more tape on it, you can. I've kind of ruined my pen tip at this point because I'm pressing so hard. Oh well. I thought I should have done pencil, but what you gonna do? I think if I was teaching this again, I'd have kids use ballpoint pen on this. That might work a little bit better for us. Now, if you guys haven't put enough detail in this drawing, like if you don't have as many lines as I've got, that might be a problem for you later, but now you know how to do this, you can always go back and just add more to your drawing. In fact, while we're thinking about it, go ahead and put your name above your drawing on your transparency. Now, some of you guys might not know this, but these transparent or these carbon papers, if you noticed, there are other drawings that have been used on them. They're reusable. You can use them again and again and again. But just remember, it's the pressure that's making the mark. So it's not the Sharpie that's making the mark, it's the pressure that you're pushing down. Anybody's hand cramping yet? Anybody else terrified none of the lines are going to be there? About 10 minutes to finish this. Before you tear it off, I would take the black out, the transfer paper, and just double check you have all your lines. Okay. Yay! Looks good. Did you guys get your lines on there? Alright, if your lines aren't that dark, these aren't erasable. So for right now, you guys, what I want you guys to do is we're going to keep this paper. We're going to keep the washi tape. We can reuse that. So go ahead and peel off your washi tape and just put it on your transparency. Okay, because we can reuse that washi tape again and again. The beauty of washi tape. Okay. Now what I want you guys to do is on each of these, you should have your name. Okay, and your period. You know, when the videos that I make, I put for the period now. It's because when I first started making the videos, my first one I put a specific period on it, like 6th period, and then the other classes got jealous. They're like, how come you didn't put our period on there? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our pieces here and we're going to put them, I'm going to give everybody put those in a nice pile. Put your worksheet on the bottom. Yeah. Just make a pile and then I'll tell you. We're going to keep all these things together and keep using those throughout the week.